Hey guys, welcome back to class. So today I do want to cover another FRQ because, well, we have very limited time in order to take the AP test, and I want you guys to be prepared. But before we get to this, I know that I've been grading the FRQs, right? And you guys have been doing very, very well. I can see your growth. Currently, I'm grading FRQ number 5. So I can see the growth that you have had from FRQ number 1 all the way to FRQ number 5. So kudos and very great job. If you have been working hard and succeeding and getting your better or getting your writing a lot better, I do congratulate you. And if you're almost there, I just need you to keep practicing, guys, because if you stay practicing, that could be you as well. Now, I hope everybody is well and that everybody is at home with their loved ones and that everything is normal and nothing is out of the ordinary. And if for any reason you guys ever run into any situation where you need assistance or where you actually need guidance, please reach out to me or to anybody so we can support you with whatever it is that is going on, and we will do our best to get you, to where you need to be. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump onto this one FRQ. Today, remember, this is our practice as a class, so I do not need you to turn it in. I don't need you to submit it, per se. So whenever you're done with this video, you should be done with the FRQ practice as well. So just keep that in mind, and as we're working on this, work along with us, so that way you're finished and you complete another practice. Awesome, so let's read the response question here. Let me make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. Alright, so it says, Jackie learned to speak Italian when she was in the 1st grade and was able to speak, read, and write Italian fairly well by the 4th grade. So, okay, we have this girl, Jackie, and she learned to speak Italian. She was able to even read it, speak it, and write it. So she became very familiar with it in the 4th grade. She moved to a new school system that did not have Italian as a choice for world languages, so she decided to take Spanish. Sometimes she found herself saying and writing words in Italian as she completed her Spanish assignment. Often, she remembered that the vocabulary in the Italian before she said the word in Spanish. Sometimes she felt like knowing Italian helped her learn Spanish, but sometimes she thought it just confused her. When Jackie was in her Spanish classroom, she felt more at ease with the Spanish language. When she went to Italian or to an Italian restaurant, she enjoyed being able to read the menu to her friends if it was written in Italian. Awesome. So we know that she's Italian, right? She took Italian courses and she really enjoyed taking Italian courses. And then so she moved away to a different school and they didn't have Italian there, so she needed to take Spanish. Spanish was closely related to Italian, so sometimes she caught herself finishing sentences or finishing words from Spanish but in Italian. So let's go ahead and try to see what we need to work on. So briefly, define each concept and use an example to show each concept is or how it's related to Jackie's experiences. So we have working memory, that's one. We have explicit memory. We have effortful processing, context-dependent memory, proactive interference, hippocampus, and then amygdala. Now, for the proactive interference, they want us to explain how these brain structures play a role in Jackie's memory processing. Or actually, I take that back. It's not for proactive interference, but it's for hippocampus and amygdala. So, how does it play a role in Jackie's memory? But before we actually get to that, let's dive into explaining what everything is, right? So as a student, you should already know what the working memory is. You should know what the explicit memory is and all of these components. But sometimes it's hard to remember. So I need you guys to kind of put yourself to the test. And if you know what it is, you can begin writing it. If not, then let's go ahead and cover them. So the working memory is what we know as the short-term memory, because the short-term memory or the working memory is a newer understanding of the short-term memory, and it focuses on the conscious active processing of incoming auditory, visual, spatial information, and how we retrieve it from long-term memory. So a possible example would to explain this or to use as an answer would be Jackie has to focus on what the teacher is saying and recall the correct vocabulary word when she is asked a question. So let's go ahead and try to explain that over here. So remember, briefly define each of the concepts and use an example to show how each concept is related to Jackie's experiences. So let's take care of working memory. You always want to indent. I've seen some of you guys don't indent. So it says working memory is associated with the processes that relate to our sensory information. In other words, the working memory is our short-term memory which allows the process of information. Bits. Awesome. So now how does it relate? Well, because remember, we need to define and then use an example and show how the concept relates to Jackie's experiences. So when Jackie, or it's with the C, so Jackie there we go. When Jackie went from Italian class to Spanish class, her working memory allowed her to encode new experiences and turn them into memories. Perfect. So we're completely done with the working memory. So now we're going to jump into explicit memories. Explicit memories are oftentimes the memories that we can actually recall, we can tell others about. So let's take care of explicit memory. Explicit memory is a memory of facts, like I mentioned, and experiences that one can consciously declare or tell anybody else. So possible explanation or example defining vocabulary words in any language relies to explicit memory. So we can say explicit memory relates to memories that allow an individual to recall and tell those memories. And then, for example, in Jackie's case, whenever she attempts to recall an Italian or Spanish word, she is using her explicit memory capacity there we go. And that's pretty much it. So explicit memory relates to memories that allow an individual to recall and tell those memories, for example. And tell those memories. So then, come on. For example, in Jackie's case, whenever she attempts to recall an Italian or Spanish word, she is using her explicit memory capacity. And then we can just throw in this, which is associated with long-term memories. Done. So now we're just going to jump on to the next little section here. Perfect. So now we need to talk about effortful processing. So effortful processing, when we actually effortfully process something, we really need to pay attention. We need to put a lot of effort into it so we can process the information. So let's jump onto the rubric. So effortful processing is encoding that requires attention and conscious effort. Possible example, when reading, Jackie has to pay attention to the words and sentence construction and understand what is being conveyed. So effortful processing. All right, let's go ahead and use it. So now we know that effortful processing, sorry guys, I think this video might cut off after another 4 minutes, so let's just jump onto it. Effortful processing regards an individual placing a lot of effort to learn or intake something into memory or long-term memory. And then we can just say, in Jackie's case, she will have to effortfully process the Spanish content in class and outside of class in order to dominate the language. Done. Alright, so now we need to use context-dependent memory. So context-dependent memory relates to memory that we actually, or memories that are triggered based on the context that we are in. So let's go ahead and jump to the explanation, or to the definition explanation. It says, context-dependent memory refers to the need to put yourself back into context where you experience something to prime your memory retrieval. Possible example, Jackie seems to be able to remember her Spanish best when in her Spanish classroom. Awesome, so let's go ahead and dive into that. So remember, effortful processing we just took care of, we're working on context-dependent memory. So context-dependent memory relates to memories that are triggered based on a similar environment where they were encoded. And then we can just simply say, in Jackie's case, she best remembers Spanish when she is in Spanish class and has difficulty with it in other places, or has more difficulty, there we go, in other places. So we're done with context-dependent memory. Now we're going to dive into the last section, but I think this video is about to end in a couple of seconds. So we need to use proactive interference. Remember, proactive interference is simply the inability to remember. So it's a disruptive effect when prior learning on the recall of new information. So remember, proactive interference is when prior learning is affecting or